Welcome to Can't Stop the Pop, the podcast where we, that's me, Craig,
and me, Matty,
do a deep dive on a song from the 90s or noughties.
So, Craig, I know you are excited and thrilled. It's the last episode of season 3. It's been our biggest season yet. What song are we doing as this season finale?
We are doing, no parallels here, the Spice Girls' Viva Forever. So, what are your immediate thoughts before one of us leaves and the other continues as though it never happened?
I think this song is beautiful. I think this is one of the most incredibly written pop songs of the era. It's such a beautiful ballad, and it really stands out in their discography. But I do think that in terms of like the big girl band behemoth hits that people often speak of, I think it gets really easily and unjustly forgotten.
Yeah.
Because I think it's beautiful. What are you, I mean, that's my initial thoughts. But like, before we get into that, I mean, why are we talking about Viva Forever specifically and the Spice Girls? Because we've not done a Spice Girls song or a Spice Girls episode yet, except on Patreon. But this song in particular, why are we talking about it? Not singing about it. Why are we singing and talking about it?
We can sing about it. I have been stretching
Viva
my vocals
Forever.
a bit this season. Why this song? I agree. It's a song that is so important in the Spice Girls narrative, and we'll talk about the quality of the songwriting, but the circumstances for me. I was 12 when this came out, and for me, Viva Forever was in many ways what the Spice Girls were my introduction to the charts and pop music and being a fan. Viva Forever was the moment. It didn't end because they had another single the same year after this, but it was the end of what I would call that era, that special era of girl power, because from this point on, everything changed. So for me, it's just a really impactful song, and there's just so much to unpick with what happened, what was going on, what happened next. Yeah, so why not?
I mean, for anyone that doesn't know the history of obviously the Spice Girls, this was the final single from Spiceworld, the best Spice Girls album, in my opinion. I don't think that's uncommon opinion, quite frankly.
No.
Spiceworld is a fantastic album. It's really, we've talked about it before, but the Spiceworld album is the Spice Girls at their poppiest and most cohesive as a group, whereas Spice and Forever, for me, really veer into so much more girl band R&B territory. But really, the debut and the third album both do that. Whereas this song, God, I remember it so clearly when it came out. Yes, it's a very early memory of pop music for us both. But it just really just sticks in my mind, seeing the video on TV, on music channels, seeing all the news reports about everything that was happening with the group. And it was just inescapable on the radio, like every single Spice Girls song, let's be fair.
Yeah.
Let's not forget that every single one of their songs was a cultural pop moment. But what is it you love about the songwriting of this? Because I really feel we can get into the nitty-gritty of it here.
So when I think about Spiceworld, I do agree. It's my favourite Spice Girls album. It's the album that I think best reflects who the Spice Girls were as a pop group. But we know that the Spiceworld album was created in the middle of them filming the Spiceworld movie. And I think they've all spoken, the group, the songwriters, about how they were sort of stuck in this little trailer. And in between takes, a member of the group would pop into the trailer and write down a word here or there. And it was recorded in and written in sort of snatches of sessions. And that comes across in Spiceworld in some instances. It sounds very chaotic. But also Spiceworld for me is a product that delivers on what it had to without necessarily going above and beyond it. That sounds a really backhanded compliment. It's not. It needed to be a solid follow-up. It needed to have songs that would accompany the movie. And it does that, and it does that really well. Viva Forever is not a song that... It's a song where I just think they really push themselves and they go above and beyond the standard. It feels to me like the only song on the album that has a really clear intent to broaden them artistically and musically. I think it's obviously sort of Spanish themed. We know Geri Halliwell was heavily involved in the songwriting, hence Viva Forever. I don't know if you know, but Geri Halliwell is half Spanish.
Really? Is she half Spanish? Mi chico Latino Geri is half Spanish. Never.
And
take me back to
fluent. And you listen to it, and from the moment it starts, firstly, it's instrumental for 40 seconds, which for the Spice Girls, any pop group to open with a song that is 40 seconds of instrumental is pretty much unheard of. But then just you can hear how much they've grown. There's this sort of sadness to it about meeting someone on holiday, and it's a summer romance. But it never feels like a love song to me. It feels like a metaphor of them, of the relationship they had with their fans, how they came together, how it was special. It was this crazy time. And then it sort of comes to an end. And I think all of them in this song, and we can include Geri because she is on it, but she's not audible. But perhaps there's a reason for that. I think they all showcase how far they've come as singers. So listen to the way Emma sings. Listen to that. It's a world apart from To Become One, where she's sort of that cheeky, put it on, put it on.
Yeah,
this is, she sounds older. She sounds worldly wise. She sounds heartbroken. Then you've got Mel B, and I know you love Mel B's Lower Register. Well, you get it here. It's
give me that Lower Register, Mel B, all the time.
It is all over this track. And then you've got Mel C's ad-libs. And the dip for me, I'm sorry, I go on and on, but for me, and you would appreciate this as a singer and as an artist.
You're stealing all my notes.
Oh, sorry, but I would say there are some good. They do some good performances, and there are some good performances of Forever. This for me is the song where they really seem to understand how they work together as singers, because there are so many harmonies and so many ways that their voices play around each other that you don't hear on any other Spice Girls song, I don't think.
Completely agree. No, but completely agree. This song is layered harmonically. If I go through it in my head, a lot of their other ballads are what you would call, they're either call and response. Like, I need some love like I never needed love before. Another lyric comes in back to the person. Or Too Much is pretty much they're all singing a tune with then a bit of ad-lib come in every now and again, which is very similar to what Let Love Lead the Way is a lot of tune with the odd ad-lib. This is layered with multiple different voices singing in harmony with each other, which, let's face it, isn't really how Girls Aloud... Sorry, Girls Aloud? I'm going to start that sentence again. Isn't really how... It'll make sense now. Isn't really how the Spice Girls were layered in their production, whereas other groups further down the line, a little bit like Girls Aloud, but definitely people like All Saints and the Sugar Babes, they were produced in a way in which that their vocals were layered and stacked on each other, and it was all multi-track. This is, as you say, one of the few ballads that does that. my God, it's such a beautifully written song. It really lends itself, there's a theatricality to it. I love that 40-second intro. I nearly said 40 minutes then. I love that 40-second intro. It's the extended remix. But what I love about that is that it's their voices, and then you think that's how it's going to be. It's this really ethereal sound, and then the drum kicks in, and then there's the flamenco guitar, and then there's the strings, which they do put. All of their ballads have a string element into it. As we say, Two Become One is a perfect example of it. This just stands up far above any of the other ballads that they released. It's so beautifully done. I also forgot Goodbye is another call and response. Goodbye, my friend. Da, 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 da. All of their ballads were written in the same formula except this. And that's why it's so special. I love the vocals. I think, as you say, Emma, Mel, and Mel get the strongest parts. We know that realistically, Victoria and Geri were the lesser singers of the group from what they brought to it. But Mel being on the bass part, Mel C being on the top ad-libs, and Emma giving you this beautiful alto in the middle. It's perfection. It's pop music perfection in the way it's produced, in the way it's recorded. And I love it. I don't think it's aged either. I think the Spice Girls were particularly lucky with a lot of their material in that a lot of the singles, especially the ballads, haven't aged. They still sound up to scratch now because of the live instruments they use. The strings just give something a timeless feel that it could be recorded today. It could have been recorded 40 years ago. Any more thoughts on the song? Because I feel like we're just gushing and we could continue.
No,
it could be a 50-minute episode.
Well, we'll talk about because so much of what I think the emotion that's wrapped up in the song goes into what was happening at the time. So we'll sort of talk about how that lends into that. But we need to talk about. You cannot talk about Viva Forever without talking about the video, because now you know I hate generally animated videos.
We talked about this. Sorry to tangent, but this video, we talked about it when we talked about Steps, Words Are Not Enough, about like an expensive animated video that is really not very good, however expensive it was. But we used this as an example, didn't we? In a positive way.
Yeah. So this video doesn't feature the group. It was never intended to feature the group because they were on this 96-date world tour. So they did not have time to shoot a music video. And this was supposed to be a double A side with Never Give Up on the Good Times. So that would have been 2 videos. So they get...
Justice for that song.
Well, yeah. Again, put a pin in that one. So this was directed by Aardman Animations. So you go straight to the best known for Wallace and Gromit. So you go straight to these guys, and this took 5 months to create this video. So it's a stop motion video, but it's not purely animated because there are human actors in it.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to talk briefly through what happens because it's very weird.
Confusing.
I watched it as a kid. It was like, the Spice Girls new video, great. It's animated, fantastic. And then you get to
weird.
Storybook.
The video.
It is weird. It's so that it opens a storybook and you see these 2 young boys in the woods, and they come across this giant Kinder Egg capsule, and it pops open. It's like springy rooster jumps out, and they follow it through the forest, and then it jumps on another capsule, and these fairies pop out, and it's the Spice Girls as fairies. Now, how would you describe these fairies?
Terrifying. So they are Aardman Animation, terrifying recreations. If anyone's listening there, not watching the video, I did the face. They're all meant to be this sort of iconic looks that the girls had. So you've got Geri in the Union Jack dress, and you've got Mel B in her leopard print, and it's the Spice Girls staple look.
Yeah.
Now, just for me, it's the faces. They're so unnecessarily. It's kind of like fairies and pixies, so to say. They're meant to be mischievous, whereas I would run away and for dear life if I saw these things coming towards me. Honestly, I think Geri's is the scariest looking one. She's just like demonic in her face. But then once the fairies pop out, what happens with these two boys?
One of the boys runs away, terrified, and the other one just sort of stays and watches them. And there's this really nice bit for about a minute where you see the fairies behaving like the Spice Girls would. So like the Mel C one does a flip, and the Mel B one does a sort of scary, and it's really, besides the fact they look demonic, it's really nice animation. It really brings those fairies to life. And then they lift the boy up and put him inside a giant Rubik's Cube. And then the Rubik's Cube shrinks, and the other boy comes back and finds it, and he just walks through this field with the Rubik's Cube. He finds this big machine that all the capsules have come out of. He puts the Rubik's Cube in a capsule and throws it in the machine and then walks off. And it's really... It's weird. You don't finish it and go, oh, I understood what happened there. But in some respects, I really like that. I like that we were at a point with the Spice Girls where they could do something that wasn't just, here we are, 5 silly fairies just doing something that could be from a kid's show. I don't like the new YouTube remastered one where the boy comes out as a fairy at the end, because that isn't what happens in the original. I don't like that.
I watched it and I went, did that always happen? I kind of feel like that's been tagged on, and that maybe that was the original idea, in that he's become one of the fairies now. Because I think that there's a lot of urban myths about when people have gone missing, they've been kidnapped by fairies, and I think it's sort of taken from those old wives' tales, fairy tale things. But it's nice that they could do something different. But my God, is it weird? And I think the look of the video and the way it's filmed is at times really effective, and it suits the feel of the song. But I do think whatever message it's trying to get across doesn't really marry up for me. I don't feel like I associate it with, oh, it's the one where they're fairies. And having just rewatched it from start to finish for the first time in probably years, maybe a decade, where I've sat and watched the video, and I was genuinely sat there going, what is this? This is odd. And I think they were at a point in which that they probably, and the record company were thinking, oh, we can kind of do what we like now. We can put out what we want. We can experiment around with things that we want. Obviously, things they didn't realize were about to implode, so they had to regroup. But like, I think Goodbye is the next single, is far more a traditional Spice Girls on location Christmas video, whereas this is, I don't want to use the word avant-garde, it's more avant-weird.
But it is in if you think about the Spice Girls and what they were to pop music, it is very left field, and I think it did, but it was if they were going to do it for a song, this was the right song for me to do it for, because the song already sits apart from their other material.
Totally.
I watch it now, and I think for me the metaphor is that about being young and two kids going down different paths and you part ways and it's not a happily ever after. Don't worry, you can all be, you'll be friends forever, because that was the whole thing. Friendship never ends. And actually, friendship does end. This sounds really, I've got really like deeper, but sometimes it does. But when you're growing up, sometimes friendship does end. And I think of it as two kids going down different paths, and they remember each other, and they've both gone in their own direction, and it's sad, but it's life, and that's how I read it. I read it more now than I did back then. At the time, I was just like, why is there a Rubik's Cube in it, and why do these fairies look so
is there
terrifying?
Yeah. For me, it's all the elements are there. It's just the connecting dots of the story when they see the machine that all the balls have come out with at the end, and he throws it not into the top, but back through the thing, and they get sucked back up. It's a bit like you've just sacrificed your friend to the fairies unknowingly. It's a bit like the Fly, in terms of his friends become the Fly, and then he's like killed him or something. Do you know what I mean? It's like one of those Simpsons episodes where it's like he became the Rubik's Cube, and the Rubik's Cube is screaming at him, going, "No, save me!"
I think maybe
these fairies are demonic. These
maybe
fairies,
by the time
they're trying to murder me.
Maybe by the time the Rubik's Cube is shrunk to that size, and also he twists it round a bit, you go, whoever is in here is destroyed, so I may as well just get rid of this, dispose of the evidence, and leave this field.
Wow. I think that's all we can really say on the video. Before we get on to the stats, there's one other topic which you have briefed me that we were going to need to talk about. So, what was that, Craig? Tell our lovely listeners.
Well, I don't think we can talk about Viva Forever, the song, without talking about Viva Forever, the musical. I didn't see it. You did. I have thoughts. I know you have many thoughts. What did you think of the musical?
For context, I was a student. I was a student when this came out. I'd just moved to London. There was such an excitement in the air for Viva Forever. On paper, it looked like it couldn't fail. And financially, it couldn't on the pre-sales. It was one of the most successful pre-sales of a show ever in the West End. Like, I think it made its return instantly back.
Written by Jennifer Saunders as well, wasn't it? So big.
It was written by Jennifer Saunders, massive name. It was Judy Kramer, producer of Mamma Mia. So every single poster was Jennifer Saunders and the producers of Mamma Mia. It was the music of the Spice Girls. And the promotional trail was huge with the group. And it was huge with Jennifer Saunders as well. And it's not unusual, in the words of Tom Jones, for a show to go through rewrites. Now, it does happen in theatre, and it usually gets rewritten in previews. It will then get a press night, and then the show will be locked. Now, what sometimes happens with shows that they don't advertise is there is a next set of rewrites, which may also involve songs getting cut. It may also involve, when the reviews have come out, there are shows, very famous ones, including shows like Wicked, that even still, in order to perfect the show, they were still getting changes made even after press night. This often leads to the show becoming perfect and a real work of art. Did that happen with Viva Forever? Holy God. It was one of the most abysmal pieces of theatre that I have ever seen. And I've seen some really bad stuff over the years. I got 2 tickets, one of which was for free and the other one which was for £10, just by going and speaking to the box office manager and saying, I really like to call my work for the company. And he was like, yeah, you can just come, it's fine.
Oh
Once
no.
word of mouth got out of how bad it was, the ticket sales fell so bad. It was a clever marketing campaign, but they compiled all of the 1-star reviews that they got, and they went,
I remember this, yeah.
they stacked them 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, so it looked like a 5-star review. It was so bad, Craig. It was just everything about what the Spice Girls stood for. It threw out. You want a show about girl power and about girl female empowerment? No, we're going to literally have a show about a girl dissing her bandmates and going on a reality TV show and becoming a solo performer. You want a show which it's not going to be like Mamma Mia. Oh, no, wait. It's basically, rather than she's looking for her dad, it's, oh, she's looking for her mum. Come on, guys. You could come up with a better story. And in order to get the Geri Halliwell inspired Spanish bits in, part of it was just randomly set in Spain. She just goes to Spain. And the segue of going to Spain goes, let's go to Spain. La, 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 la. And then all of these people come out in giant heads that look like the heads from 5, 6, 7, 8 from the Steps Gold Tour. Those big heads.
No.
And I'm sat in the theatre going, what fever dream am I in? Because on paper, the concept of this thing about fame and reality TV, there was a lot of great ideas. There's been some very successful and very well-written jukebox musicals over the past 20 years. Obviously, Mamma Mia. I think Our House is fantastic. I think Anne Juliet is fantastic. I think the recent Steps musical written by our lovely friend Sean was also fantastic, in that you're writing a good story that's funny and silly that connects the songs. Everything about Viva Forever was a car crash, and you felt they were embarrassed, the actors on stage. And I just... I despair at how bad every creative decision was. The script was so poor, and they just butchered the songs. Like, the songs weren't intact. But it also, the thing is that you've got to pick a back catalogue that is extensive enough. The Spice Girls had 15 or 16... 14 or 15 songs, correct me, are released as singles if you include the double A sides. What was that? Is it 14 or 15?
Not
it's
even
around that. Not even that.
Yeah.
That barely fills one act of a show. So they put in all of these album tracks, and they put in Spice Girls solo songs. So Look at Me was in it. Geri. You also had I Turn to You was in the original version, and then it was cut out. And all of the characters were loosely meant to be like the X Factor judges. So you had like a fake Simon and a fake Louis and then a fake Sharon.
Oh,
and the irony was that the X Factor musical was simultaneously on, which directly parodied the X Factor. It was on at very similar times, which also didn't do very well. So it was this really weird period. I had a friend go see the preview, the open dress rehearsal, and he came back and I was like, oh my God, how was it? Is it everything you hoped it for? And he hugged me and cried and said, it's so bad.
Oh,
I can't believe how bad they've done it. So that was how bad the show was.
Wow, okay. Well, I didn't see it. I was under the impression that towards the end, before it closed, it was the best version of that show that it was ever likely to be, that they did improve it.
They improved it.
From 1 star, that's... gets 2 stars, you've doubled the quality.
They carted Jennifer Saunders around as well to re-promote it, and they asked her things, so has the show had some changes? And she was like, I remember her and Graham Norton And she was going, "Oh, darling, darling, it's just a bit of a lighting change here, or things there, whatever." And I was like, "Oh my god!" They cut songs, they moved songs around, they basically reworked the whole show because they had to polish a turd. Like, and
Yeah.
you can only do that so much.
Yeah. No, I didn't see it, but I completely agree. I don't have a lot of experience with musical theatre, as you know, but this goes back to what we've talked about before. They just do not have enough material to you. If as you can't start a show and go, okay, well, we've got these are the only songs we've got, so we've just got to write something around it. Like with the Steps musical, there are songs that aren't in there. Okay, it's most of them are, but there are songs that aren't in there because Sean wasn't forced into having to go, okay, well, Steps only have 10 singles, so I've got to write a show that incorporates all of these. And that for me is just was the fundamental issue with anything around a Spice Girls musical.
You've got to, if you're doing a jukebox, this has got to be a substantial. If it's based on one person's back catalogue, there has to be at least 25, 30 songs that you can pick and choose from. So that if you do have the odd moment in which that something feels shoehorned in, like as Sean would have admitted about the Steps musical, something like 5, 6, 7, 8, it can be shoehorned in a novelty, funny way, and then you move on with the plot. Half of the songs in the Spice Girls felt shoehorned in. And when you've got songs as deep cut as like Saturday Night Divas, that's supposed to be this big number, and I'm there like, who remembers this song? What casual theatre goer is going to remember deep cuts from all 3 albums that they put in? It was really bizarre. And what it meant was that songs like Wannabe and Spice Up Your Life, you look at them and then you're in a theatrical context and you're like, these lyrics don't lend themselves to musical theatre. That's the other thing.
Yeah.
You've got to think about the songs lyrically. Why does ABBA work so well as musical theatre? Because ABBA lyrics were incredible and they have such a humongous back catalogue. There was recently, I know I'm going on a tangent now, there was recently an interview with Sarah and Nicola from Girls Aloud saying, "Oh, do you think there'll be a Girls Aloud musical?" And it was so funny. Not Sarah, Nicola, Kimberly and Nicola. It wasn't Sarah, bless her, cotton socks, God rest her soul. Kimberly and Nicola were interviewed, and Kimberly gave this really very polite response, and she's like, "Yeah, I think it would be great." And Nicola just was like, "Absolutely not." She said, for want of a better phrase, she said, "Our songs would not work in a musical because the lyrics are all over the place and because stylistically there's no through line to their music."
Yeah.
And similar thing with the Spice Girls. Spice Up Your Life makes no sense. It is a tune, but it makes no sense. So how are you going to use that in a theatrical context? It was just flawed from the get-go. And no matter... And it was such a shame because it was marketed so brilliantly. There was such an excitement for it. And I kind of am glad that the musical has been forgotten about. I am. I feel like they need to just forget it happened and move on. Because the song can then stand the test of time because it's so beautiful.
Yes. Okay, so talking about something that was less successful.
That was what we thought. What happened when this song was released, Craig?
Okay, so just a bit of context around this. So Stop had missed number 1. It was their first single not to get to number 1, got to number 2. So originally...
Travesty.
I think they planned to go in hard with this, and it was supposed to be a double A side, Viva Forever and Never Give Up on the Good Times. I personally am glad... I love Never Give Up on the Good Times, but I'm glad it wasn't a double A side because to me that would have felt like they were doing Mama and Who Do You Think You Are again. That sort of same... And I think Viva Forever probably would have been a bit overshadowed because I think the attention would have been on the up-tempo. So it was going to be released in May, and then at the end of May, the Spice Girls appeared on the National Lottery, and there were only 4 of them. And of course, Mel C told what's widely regarded as one of the biggest lies in pop music ever. Get well soon, Geri. Said she was unwell.
Get well soon, Geri. Directly in the camera. We know you've left, but we're lying.
Yeah. And then 4 days later, it was announced she'd quit. Now, they didn't do a lot of promotion for this song, though she did pre-record a Top of the Pops performance where she's literally at the edge of the stage because she doesn't have any vocals. You can't hear her on this song. But Geri leaving basically became the promotion for Viva Forever, and it was delayed. It was eventually released in July, and it peaked at number 1. So it went back to number 1, and it was a really big hit as well. So debuted at number 1 with sales of 277,000 copies, which this is the 4th single from Spiceworld. It's had a radio edit, but it's not hugely different. It's just a bit shorter. Incredible. And I have to say, as someone who bought all the formats, there wasn't much on the CDs because it was just they hardly had any B-sides anyway. It was just live performances. So it was number 1. It was number 1 for a fortnight, and it was the 13th biggest selling single of 1998. 623,000 copies.
For a 4th single to be that high, that's mental.
Incredible. And I do remember feeling there was a sense of goodwill towards them. I don't think they'd ever hit a point where there was a backlash, but they were definitely grappling with the press a bit more in that second album era. But I do think there was a goodwill towards them. People perhaps recognizing that, hey, this was actually a pretty good, and this was a pretty wild 2 years we had with the Spice Girls. It's not the same now. So let's just make the most of what we've got left. And can I just say, it's wild to me that 1997 is the only full 12-month year that all 5 Spice Girls were together. They launched in 96. They were together all through 97 as a 5-piece. And then Geri left in 98. It's crazy to me. We only had one 12-month block where they were a group as a 5-piece.
I know that we don't cover modern music, but part of the reason why I love doing this show and part of the reason why I love discussing pop music like this with you is that there's just no comparison to the modern pop world. An artist these days, not that it didn't happen back in the day, but an artist at the level of someone like the Spice Girls, and I'm going to use the same examples that I always do. You Sabrina Carpenter's, but even more so, I'd say someone who's come out with a debut like Chapel Roan these days. If she'd have been in the 90s at that level of success and that level of like now household name fame, where she could do the O2 next year within the space of 12 months, she would have had a second album by now.
Yeah.
But people it's weird. Artists sit with music for so much longer. But people move away from music, personally, with streaming habits so much quicker. So the rate at which that singles get dropped. Look at the campaign for the Jade album. The fact that she had, including a promotional song, 6 singles out before the album. And she doesn't really need to release another song now. She's going to go on to a special edition one next year. You compare it to the Spice Girls' first 2 years. Other acts at the time, look at the run of like S Club 7 or Steps or Take Britney Spears. Those first runs of albums that were just every single was a cultural moment. Every single got carted around Top of the Pops and all of these different performance platforms. And there was tours, and there was this, and it's Gaga, it's bus, club, another bus, plane, no sleep. It's that. And that was just all of these artists' lives. And we were so used to consuming music in that way. So this did feel like a really pop cultural moment of stepping back, and as you say, and taking stock of, obviously Goodbye was a great song as it is, but it was written as this is goodbye to Geri. Whereas Viva Forever felt like the real cut-off point of,
yeah.
we've
And it
really
was never
come
intended,
far.
was it? Yeah. And I love the fact that Geri presumably didn't go in and write this as thinking, I won't be here. So it's a circumstance around it, I think, made it give it that additional emotional kick, because it was never supposed to be what it became. But imagine now Viva Forever without that, it wouldn't be the same. So
No.
just to round it up, in terms of where it sits overall, because you talked about how it gets a little bit forgotten sometimes. So in terms of overall sales, where it sits, this is, at last count, their 7th biggest seller overall, which, given they didn't have that many singles, is actually quite low down. So it sits behind, and who do you think you are at number 6? Goodbye at number 5. Spice Up Your Life at number 4. Say You'll Be There at number 3. Two Become One at number 2. And Wannabe at number 1 in terms of their biggest sellers. That feels about right to me, which is crazy.
Yeah, because you've got to think about all of the cultural moments that all of these singles had. Like every single one of their songs except Stop in that original run was number 1.
Yeah.
That's a feat that not even Westlife could do. Obviously, they had way more singles. But for an act to just be getting a number 1 out of the park every single time, and working hard for it as well. They weren't given those number 1s. They worked their arses off. Really, a really amazing moment of pop. And I feel like it's like a special moment ingrained in our memories as well. I mean, we had so much to talk about it. This is probably going to be the longest episode we've ever done on the main series. But yeah, I loved it. Any final thoughts?
My final thought is this. In most other circumstances, I will accept when people say the Spice Girls, where they criticize the Spice Girls and say they couldn't sing, they couldn't dance, okay, I don't agree, but I'll accept it because they had their flaws. But if anyone says they weren't good pop artists, I would tell them to listen to this song and then come back and tell me again that these 5 women were not brilliant at what they did, because Viva Forever is that song. It's the kind of song that is the product of not just artists who were good at what they did, but artists who inherently were good at writing pop songs. And my goodness, I wish they had had a third album that wasn't Forever as a 5-piece, where they were able to develop this style and this commitment to their craft. Because imagine what they could have done with what is on display here. That is my final thought. End TED Talk.
Wow. Thank you for coming to Craig's TED Talk at the Church of Spice Girls. There you go. Yeah, I don't disagree. But I think if anyone thinks that the Spice Girls weren't good pop artists, then they are just wrong. We would not be doing this podcast if it wasn't for the influence of the Spice Girls on music over the past 30 years. Truthfully, to be honest.
There we go.
If you want to listen to the song, Viva Forever, and why would you not? You can find it on streaming and on the Spiceworld album. And where can they find us, Craig?
So Can't Stop the Pop has a website where there are over 500 reviews, including this song, of course, which you can find at can'tstopthepop.com.
We're also on social media. I am Matt_Atkins9 on Instagram. And you can also find us on TikTok at Can't Stop the Pop Podcast, where we talk about loads of the pop music stuff.
I am at can'tstop_the_pop on Instagram and TikTok. We're also at Can't Stop the Pop on YouTube. And we have Patreon at patreon.com/Can't Stop the Pop for bonus content and exclusive episodes. And plug, we have an episode where we discuss the whole Spice album. Spoilers, It's not quite as positive as this episode. But there's still some good stuff in there.
There's good stuff. I really enjoyed recording that. Yeah, we got loads of exclusive stuff. Every month, if you get on Patreon, we have an exclusive episode just for you. Do subscribe to our channels, including our Patreon. Get in touch. Let us know what you think of the song, what you think of the show. And please leave us a review, but only a good one, wherever you get your podcasts from. And Craig, that's it for season 3. How are we here already? This is mental.
I know, it's wild. I've already left. I've actually, you've just been doing this by yourself for the last 5 minutes. I've already left, and I'm about to release my debut single next year.
Called Look at Her.
Don't listen to her.
We will see you in the new year for season 4. Eyes peeled.
Thank you so much for listening, and join us next time for more
Can't stop the pop.